Hi, I'm Hasnan. In this video, we'll be discussing some essential concepts about the course Econ 1101, otherwise known as Microeconomics 1, at the University of New South Wales. The cost-benefit principle. In everyday life, we make decisions. In order to make a wise decision, we have to understand all the relevant costs and benefits associated with doing any particular activity. For example, we are faced with questions and decisions like whether we should go for cycling today or whether we should decrease the class size from 300 students to 30 students. Before we actually analyze those questions, let's discuss the scarcity principle. In real life, people are faced with choices. A person cannot simply get everything whatever he desires. The resources in this world are limited. Therefore, having more of one thing usually means having less of another. Let's say, if you choose to go to soccer, you cannot study for economics. You have to make a compromise. You have to make trade-offs. The scarcity principle recognizes that there is no free lunch and individuals has to face trade-off. Now, what does the cost-benefit principle says? An individual or a firm or a society should take an action if and only if the extra benefits from taking the action are at least as great as the extra cost. In asking questions like whether I should do an activity X, we analyze the costs and benefits associated with that activity. If the benefits of doing an activity are greater than the costs, then you should do it, otherwise you don't. Let's examine the question that we discussed in the beginning of this presentation. Whether should you go for cycling today? So, with your experience, you are quite sure that a day out for cycling is worth $20 to you. This is the benefit. And the costs for cycling, that includes everything, the bus fare, cycle rent and equipment, is $12. Now, the benefit of cycling is $20 and the cost is $12. According to the cost-benefit principle, since the benefit is greater than the cost, then you should go for cycling. Should we decrease the class size from 300 students to 30 students? Let's analyze the costs and benefits associated with this decision. The cost of making the class size smaller would be the increase in tuition fee per student. Each student would have to pay a higher fee. And the benefit of making the class size smaller would be the amount of money people would be willing to pay for the increased quality of instruction. Now, this can be called as an implicit benefit, and it depends on person to person. Everybody has its own value of a smaller class size, which may differ from another. Now, let's do some mathematical calculations to understand more about this decision. Let's say the cost for conducting one class is $15,000. We assume that this remains fixed irrespective of the number of students in the class. In the first case, when we have 300 students, then the cost per student would be $50. If we reduce the class size to $30 and make 10 sections instead, then the cost per student would be $500. So the cost of decreasing the class size from 300 students to 30 students should be $500 minus $50 equals to $450. Now, what is the benefit? If you were currently in a class with 300 students, how much would you be willing to pay to switch to one with 30 students? If your answer is less than $450, then it does not make sense to offer the smaller class, and according to the cost benefit principle, it would be wise to have one class of 300 students. The common mistakes that students make while doing the cost benefit analysis is failing to account for all the implicit costs and opportunity costs. We will explore the meaning of implicit cost and opportunity costs in our next video. Thank you.